a host of other things. Going to do some bow fishing later on tonight, and that'll be the first time doing that. So we'll see how that turns out. I'm not a very strong swimmer, so I'll be a double life jacket guy with the water wings on the biceps. No doubt about that. Let me see if I can get him again. King Rexy 3. There you go. See, he's unable to join. Let me see if I can get him again. Might have to go out and come back in. Won't be the first time. King Rexy 3. Let's see here. I see him in there, but we weren't able to get him in. All right, let me start over. There he is right there. See if the third time would be the charm here. Patience. I've never been bow fishing before, so that's going to be quite an experience. Don't know quite what to expect. There he is. King Rex.
All right, hang on.
Hey, take your time, bro. I was doing the same thing, man. Just scrambling, trying to get.
Are we good?
Yeah, we're good. I can hear you. Can you hear me? Are you clear?
I got you. I'm sorry about
My
that. Hey,
man.
my guy.
No, no problem. My guy Rex, man. Thanks for coming on, bro.
Thanks for having me, man. Are you excited or what?
Man, I'm super excited, man. And I
You
just want
gotta
to,
be.
if you could just let me reminisce for just a couple minutes, man, to start. So I'm a Cleveland, Ohio guy, right? Every year I played football and basketball for my high school, Cleveland Heights High School. And every year we would go to five-star basketball camp, Coriopolis, Pennsylvania, Robert Morris College, right?
Yeah.
And I can remember going there and they had a counselor games at night. I remember like, man, who is this white dude that's like touching the top of the square on the backboard? And I'm like, everybody's like, man, that's Rex Chapman. We like, what?
Oh
And
man,
and that's what it started, man. And you
that's
remember those you
crazy.
remember those you remember those camp days, bro?
Absolutely. I went to five star I guess going into my senior year. I got MVP. And then the next year I played freshman ball at
Yeah,
Kentucky,
yeah.
and a good friend of mine, Ramil Robinson, who
Ramil
I know you
Robinson.
know, yeah,
Yep.
went to that other school in Michigan.
The others.
Um, but we were good buddies,
Yeah,
and we decided we would go back the next summer for Garth and be counselors. And I guess you guys were there. I think Christian Leitner and Grant Hill. You know who
yep.
else was there? You know who else was there? Was Michael Rappaport. You know Mike
Yeah.
Rappaport, the actor?
He
He
was
was on my
there?
team. Yeah, he
Really?
was terrible. Terrible. And tell him I said it right now. I hope he's watching. For
Wow.
for yeah, for a basketball player, he was a pretty good actor.
Wow.
That's about it. But yeah, man, those games, and most of those games were played outdoors back then. We
Yep.
played a lot of stuff outside, but
Yep.
yeah, I remember those counselor games too. Those were fun, man. A lot of
Yeah.
fun.
I loved it. I was on a 3-on-3. We had the 3-on-3 tournaments there every year, and I was on a team with Grant Hill, and we
Nice.
won the thing. Obviously,
No way.
I never yeah I never touched the ball, right? I never touched the ball. I'm standing in the corner watching Grant Hill the whole time. And so the team we were playing had Brian Reese on there that played in North Carolina.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
after the game, we went after the game. Grant Hill comes to me and said, "Hey man, I'm sorry. I just had to get back. I'm sorry I didn't pass the ball." I'm like, "Hey,
yeah.
we won. I'm good."
Absolutely. What's crazy about that is that Grant and I are good buddies to this day. We worked together at NBA TV some.
Yeah,
But he was a few years behind me. So I would have been, maybe 19 at the time when he was 15.
Yeah.
And so what was crazy was, seeing him 4 years later at Duke and seeing
Wow.
what he turned into,
Yeah.
and then what he was yet to turn into, because
Yeah.
he was going to get even better than that. Yeah.
It's just you just look back and it's just so many great memories, so many great players. I remember Billy Owens was there. I remember I think Harvey Grant was there.
Yep.
All those guys, and I just never forget, man, just going up and down those hills, man. At Robert Morris, man. You go back then after when you leave camp, you go back home, you jump out the gym big time.
No question about it. Your legs are from bouncing around on concrete for days. Your legs are good and ready to go.
Wow, man. I appreciate you letting me go back a little bit, man.
Oh,
I'm
shoot.
I'm so proud of you, man. I've been following you. Obviously I went the football route. You basketball,
Yep.
but I always kept an eye on you. And I remember I
Thank you.
remember seeing you on at Kentucky, and I remember watching the draft. I'm like, man, that's Rex Chapman. That's King. Then I see the poster with King Rex. I'm like, okay, that's my guy. So I
Yeah,
followed you all the way through, man. And you had a heck of a NBA career. And then
I appreciate
I
it.
remember seeing you in a dunk contest. I think was Dominique in there and
Yeah.
Sean
Yep.
Kemp, maybe some other cats.
Uh-huh. Let's see, my first year, they wanted me to do the dunk contest right away. And I was like, nah, I want to be an all-star before I go to the dunk contest,
Right.
and that was kind of the mindset back then. So I didn't do it my first year, but they basically made me do it the second year. It was
Yeah.
in Miami, and Dominique won that one. Sean Kemp, Sean and I were supposed to play at Kentucky together. That didn't
Oh,
work out. But yeah,
yeah.
he was behind me a couple years, but I
Mm.
left, and then he, came to Kentucky and left. But Sean was in that, and then I was in it the next year,
Mm.
and when D Brown won it. Come on, D. I
Right.
with the pump 'em up things on his shoes. I see him once a year, and I'm like, hey man, how's my trophy doing? Are you keeping it shine?
Oh, that's great, man. That's great. Hey, was the NBA what you thought it would be, man? I know you. I mean, you a big time player, and it had to be a goal of yours growing up. But was it everything that you thought it would be?
Coach. Yeah, yeah. I was so wired. My dad was a basketball player and then a
Hmm.
basketball coach.
Yep.
And when I left college, also I didn't dream about playing in the NBA. We didn't have an NBA team in Kentucky. It was
Hmm.
just Kentucky basketball, Louisville basketball.
Yep.
The first NBA game I ever saw, I played in.
Mm.
So I didn't really
Wow.
grow up. I didn't really grow up wanting. I didn't even know you made money playing. I was just kind of, I just wanted to get a scholarship because I always heard my mom and dad talking about how expensive college was,
Sure.
and it was me and my younger sister.
Yep.
So I just wanted to take that off of their plate.
Yep.
So yeah, I just life is weird, man. I really just wanted to play basketball,
Yeah.
and then when I got to the NBA, um, college was not. I guess what I was gonna say is my dad had prepared me to go to college, and
Hmm.
like, hey man, look, you can't start for them. You're a high school kid, and he coached a college D2 college
Yep.
team at
Yep.
time. I would come home after games, high school games sometimes, and he'd be like, "You're going to Kentucky? You couldn't start for me." Yeah. So I was
Yeah.
perfectly wired to believe that I had not, when I got to campus, that I had a lot to learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that really helped me a lot
Hmm.
because I think people expected that I was going to play, but man, this was Kentucky in the 80s. We had juniors and seniors on our team who could really play. I
Yeah.
mean, that's when guys stayed in school 4 years.
Yep. Yep.
So, college, the actual playing part of college seemed to be easier than I thought it would be.
Hmm.
Now, that being said, for every freshman, when you come in there, I said the basketball playing part, the conditioning, the schoolwork, the tutors, the dieting,
Yeah.
and a lot of stuff you guys have today that we didn't have.
Yeah.
That stuff's hard, man.
Yeah.
And
It is.
especially when you go to a place like yours to play football, or a place like Kentucky to play basketball, or yours to play basketball.
Yep.
It, there's a you don't realize,
Yeah.
when you're growing up and you're putting in all the reps out on the field or on the
Yeah.
court or all that, you don't realize that the media and some of that stuff, that's part of this.
Big part of it.
You better learn how to handle criticism the
Yep.
right way, and still be able to answer somebody's questions,
Yeah.
because believe this, you, you know, the locker room, especially professionally,
Hmm.
that's no place for sensitive people.
That's right.
You can't you can't be sensitive. You got to be humble about, and when you step on a college campus, be humble about the things you don't know.
Yeah.
Ask questions,
That's
and
right.
because then once you've been told, yeah, okay, it can be you, but you're there to learn,
That's right.
and you can't skip steps, and especially in your sport, you cannot skip steps. I mean, it's a real game. It's a
Who?
real game.
It is a real game. Who was your coach
Hmm.
at Kentucky? Were you with Patino or?
No, I was with Eddie Sutton.
Oh,
Eddie was here.
the
He was here.
legend.
Yeah, Eddie just passed away
Yeah.
about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Made it into the Hall of Fame
Yeah.
this last time, so I'm happy about that. But I played for Eddie my 2 years
Mm.
at Kentucky. I left after my sophomore year.
Yeah.
We were probably going on probation. Uh,
Maybe, probably, maybe.
Maybe
Who
that's really
knows?
why. That's really why Sean Kemp and I didn't play together in Kentucky. Uh, but yeah, we were
Uh,
probably going. We were going on probation. So uh,
that's
I,
hilarious.
and honestly, I think back. I was the youngest player my rookie year. I was the youngest player in the league,
Mm.
19, turning 20, and
Wow.
Kareem was the oldest player at 41, and he played against my dad back in the day. But I'm just saying, it's a. I was young physically at
Yep.
that point.
Hmm.
I was ready
Yeah.
socially, emotionally, all of that stuff. It was really difficult because
Yeah.
I'd gone from, being at home as a senior in high school,
Hmm.
having Santa Claus and Christmas, to really a year and a half later being in an NBA locker room where at that time guys came in at halftime would smoke cigarettes.
That was back in the day, guys were
Back in the day.
drinking a beer,
Yeah, drinking. That's right.
smoking a
That's
cigarette
right.
at
So
halftime.
yeah, so it was just a big sort of whirlwind, and you want things to happen. Well, you've worked for them, and you
Yeah.
want things to happen. But I would just caution everybody out there that's talented and all of that. That's only part of it.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
got to be ready. You got to be ready when you take your shot. A lot of times, if you're not, that shot's not gonna. You better be really good. You
Yeah.
better be really good
Yeah.
for them to wait on you, because once you make it to the next level
Hmm.
after college,
Yep. It's
it's a
tough.
man's game. It's a
It's tough.
man's game.
It's a
It's a
job.
man's world. Yes, it's a job.
It's a
And
job.
really, what you guys are doing, we've been knowing this for years and
Yeah.
years. When you go to school and play at a level like what you guys are,
Mm.
and here at Kentucky, hey, there's a lot of job qualities that go along with that too. I mean, a
It's a
lot of
lot of
responsibility, a
responsibility.
lot of
A lot of
responsibility. And
responsibility.
the one thing you do find out really quick, I remember, because I was in town and everything was about me. It seemed like when I was here, Lexington and all of that stuff. What you realize very quickly, I left school, went playing NBA. Guess what? They still had Kentucky basketball here the next year.
Just
It
keeps
goes on
going.
without you,
It just keeps
without you.
going, brother. Keeps rolling.
And so it's a privilege to be where you are. It's
Yeah.
not your right. It's a privilege.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's it's interesting you should say that because I always talk to my players about the NFL. I didn't play in the NFL, but I coached for 10 years in the NFL. And I tell them, I said, it's not exactly what you think it is.
Yeah.
It's and you try to talk them through it and try to get them to realize, say, listen, let's prepare now. Let's prepare now academically. Let's prepare now, socially, and just learning how to be organized and prioritize and take care of your body and all those things. So when you do get to the NFL, if you do get that opportunity, then you got a chance to stay. You got a chance to be
Right.
successful, and because it's just so different than what people really think. It's really tough, man. It's a rough
Yeah.
deal, especially for the young guys coming into the league. They get a little money. They don't have to go to class.
Hmm.
and and they're trying to keep up with the vets sometimes, and
That's right.
and the next thing boom. But I mean, you stayed in the league. You were like 12 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was 12 years, and our league is different than yours.
Hmm.
It's a smaller window for you guys. The sport that you play is incredible. Also, hey, um, you guys are playing high school, you're playing college, and then continuing to play
Yeah,
on. That's a lot of wear and tear.
yeah,
I think people don't understand really how good guys are.
that's right.
How good and how big and how fast they are at the
Hmm.
next level. It's all size to skill ratio.
Sure,
But man, you run into freaks at the next level, and freaks every single night.
that's right.
And so you got to be ready when you get your shot. Yeah.
What coach you think had the most impact on you? I know you're a coach's kid, and
Hmm.
so you grew up with it. It was in your blood. But with college or pro ball, is usually a coach or two that really kind of had a real impact on you.
Yeah, for sure. We're all, I think, products of, what kind of leadership we've been around in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
Whether it's a lax leadership or a strong leadership, a lot
Hmm.
of that stuff shakes itself out. You end up, kind of coming up how you were brought up.
That's
And
right. Right.
so, you know, I, my dad obviously was a
Hmm.
big influence. I hated when he would come to watch me play. Um, there, I should go into some more of that, but he was a big influence. And then
Hmm.
Eddie Sutton, of course,
Hmm.
I played 2 years of college, and had I not had Eddie was a defensive coach. And had I not had 2 years of defensive principles
Yeah.
drilled into me every day, where I knew what I was doing by the time I got to the NBA,
Yeah.
I was lost for the first month anyway when I
Hmm.
got into the NBA.
Sure.
But had I not known, you know, techniques,
Right.
and really learn how to play zone and man
Yeah.
and different. I don't know that I could have survived. So him, and then at the NBA level, Wes Unseld had a very
Mm.
profound effect on me as a person. He
Yeah.
taught me a lot about life. Just passed away again in the last month, but just a genuine guy, Hall of Famer. And then Pat Riley. I
Mm.
played with Pat. Pat went to Kentucky here at UK,
Hmm.
and I'd known of him and played against his teams my whole career. But then I got traded there
Hmm.
from Washington to Miami. It was Pat's first year in Miami,
Mm.
and I had played on bad teams, hadn't made the playoffs in 7 previous years, and we sneaked into the playoffs 41-41 my first year down there. Then we drew Michael and them, of course, in the first round, and they beat us like a JV team in 3 games straight. But I what I'll tell you what I learned down there, and I tell this to a lot of young people, a lot of players. When you get to the when you leave college, and even if you're working in the private sector, or you're not going on and playing sports, you can make money
Hmm.
and not be a professional.
That's right.
I was making money, but I didn't learn how to be professional
Mm.
really until I got to play with Pat Riley and saw what he expected every day. I had good vets on the team,
Yeah.
other good vets by that time.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and just the one thing I learned too, you can't skip steps.
That's
And
right.
if you look, you see Pat and them, they have a way of doing things.
Hmm.
And either you go there and you buy in,
Hmm.
or you don't play.
Yeah.
And so they're just everything starts with Pat and the ownership. They're
Hmm.
on the same page,
Yeah.
and then the coach
Yeah.
is on the same page.
Yep.
So everybody's working toward the same goal.
Hmm.
It's a beautiful thing what they have in Miami, and I would ask all the young people out
Hmm.
there to kind of look around the league, see how many of those franchises stay at this level
Yeah.
for a long time, and you can go. It's a short list. I mean,
Yeah.
the Spurs are up there right
Sure.
now.
Sure.
The Jazz have kind of been there over the years,
Yeah.
but it's a short list.
It's tough. I've
Yeah.
read that Pat Riley's practices were brutal. Like he's a big deal on practice, and whether you were a rookie or a vet, you were going to get out there and
Oh
get that
yeah.
work in. Was it
No,
practice like that?
no question about it. He got a little bit better. Like he would get a little more lenient as the season wore on,
Hmm.
and over his career he did start to cut back.
Hmm.
Um, but man, yeah, when I was down there, it was for real. And they have a and they every franchise should have it, but they have a 10% body fat rule in Miami, and you got to be under 10%. Guards got to be under like 8. Big men got to be under 10. And I'm going to tell this story anyway because Stacey King, I don't know if you remember
I do
Stacey King,
remember Stacey
and
King.
Stacey fluctuated with his weight, man, all the time. Even when he was in college, he was always kind of. So Stacey had come to Miami over the summer, and the rule was you don't play. You don't play not even a minute until in preseason and anything until
Period.
you get under that percentage. So last preseason game, and Stacy's trying to get into shape. He's been trying to get into shape. He gets into shape. He gets to 10%. He's playing the game. He goes up in the game, comes down, and messes his ankle up. Sprain, bad ankle sprain. And I left that night. He had a boot on. He was walking out of the thing. I came in the next morning, and Pat had him on the bicycle already with his boot taped to the bicycle.
That's what I'm
they,
talking about.
they brought his meals to him all day long while he was sitting on the bicycle.
Hey man, it takes what it takes, man.
It does, man. He said it's not broken. Let's tape that thing up.
Oh man, that's a great story, man.
Yeah,
That
that's a
is
good
that
one.
is
That's a good one.
hilarious, bro. That's hilarious. There's some guys that I've coached, that I know that are going to go into coaching when they're done playing, or I know they're going to go into personnel or scouting. And so you took that path. I mean, you went into the front office, you went into scouting, and is that something that you wanted to do, or did you just kind of fall into it, or?
I think I just kind of fell into it. I wasn't looking, look, they start telling you, start preparing for life after sports. They start telling us that when we're 17, 18,
That's right.
and the longer you go, I'm telling you, I sat in every one of those meetings
Mhm.
and I just thought, I'm going to play golf and chase my kids around and that's all I'm going to do. No, you
Yeah.
got to have focus. You got to have some direction and you got to continue to be goal oriented,
Yeah.
especially when you've been in sports your whole life.
Yeah.
So it wasn't I'll say this though, a lot of us who go to big time programs like the one that you're at, you know, everybody asks you, well, you're going to go to the pros?
Yeah.
He's going to the pros. He's
Yeah.
going to the pros. My opinion is if you're at Michigan State, you've already hit the lottery, man. You've hit the lottery. And so now here's what you got to do. Well, yeah, you got to try to stay healthy and get
Yeah.
through and all that. And yeah, maybe you can do that from a personal standpoint.
Hmm.
All the guys that I played with here at Kentucky in my time, the guys before and after me, I can think a lot of those guys didn't make it to the NBA.
Yeah.
Most of them did not.
Right.
The only guys who have struggled really with life after college
Hmm.
are the guys who don't get their degree.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to preach on that because I don't have my degree.
Sure. Sure.
But had I had it a few years ago
Hmm.
when I was still kind of building back up and we can talk
Yeah.
some more about that. But had I had that,
Hmm.
my road back would have been easier.
Make it a lot
And
easier. Yeah.
it would make it a lot easier. And so really the only way you fail, after getting a scholarship, going to a university is just not taking advantage of that education because
Yeah.
that education it's I mean, you've hit the lottery. If you've gotten the opportunity to go to your school and get your education paid for, you've already hit the lottery to a degree.
Yeah. No doubt. I mean that life after whatever, you think you're going to go to the play pro ball,
Yeah.
you don't play, or you do play, and then it's over, and then it's like, okay, what's next for me? You know, I didn't make it, and I was a little lost.
Right.
I was like, okay, now what do I do? I was lucky I had a degree, and I stayed. I knew I love football. I loved it, so I stayed close to the game. One of my coaches in college told me um, when I was at Wisconsin, said if you stay close to football, you stay in the game will take care of you. And so
Great advice.
I decided to get into coaching, and the rest is history. And I saw that you went into the personnel route and the scouting and all that, and I have a lot of admiration for that. I mean, that's tough work,
Yeah.
evaluating
Yeah.
and all that type of deal.
Yeah. The one thing that I'll add on to that is that, you know, it, you got some great advice, stay in the game. When you come to a place like yours, or, we've all been in successful programs and organizations, it's getting your foot in the door.
Yeah,
It's getting whether that's even, in the combine or this camp or that camp or
yeah,
with that team, it's getting your foot in the door.
yeah,
And the one thing you find right away too in the professional ranks, you better be good. You better be really good. I
yeah,
mean, because getting your foot in the door is just part of it. You got
yeah,
to be good, and then you got to be able to handle all the other stuff that's going to go along with that,
yeah,
from financially, relatives,
yeah,
friends. It's a you know we all say it all the time. We all dream about doing big things, but just be careful what you wish for. Make sure you're ready for it.
yeah, no
Right?
doubt.
Yeah.
There's just so much that goes into it, and like we talked a couple of days ago, man, life is tough.
Yeah,
Life,
it is.
and it has a lot of ups and downs and turn right and left, and but you just got to
I'll
keep
tell
on
you.
going, bro.
Yeah, and I'll jump in there. I I was I was a McDonald's All-American. They thought maybe I was the best player in high school coming out, which I wasn't. Derek Coleman was always better than all of us. Um, but uh, you know, I dreamed that I would. Once I got to college, I thought, yeah, all right, I'll go play in the NBA. After that, I didn't have any aspirations, any real goals or
Mm,
dreams at all. And my last 3 years of playing, I had 7 orthopedic surgeries.
mhm.
I was hurt a lot.
Yep.
And when I got back, had an emergency appendectomy with about 10 games left in my 12th year.
Mm,
And I got back, and a doctor gave me something called OxyContin.
mhm.
And man, it's a painkiller.
Yep, for
And
sure.
within 2 days, I knew I was in love.
Mhm.
I never played another basketball game. I still had like $13 million left on a contract.
Mm,
I never played another game, and for about 14 years, 3 rehabs. I was arrested in 2014. I was living in my car for a while.
mm,
And I'd made, I don't know, $40 million playing basketball.
sure.
Divorce and bad investments and gambling too much
Yeah.
and just being a dummy. A lot of that being a dummy. But the drug addiction really took me down a tough path.
Mm,
But about 5 years ago, I went to rehab. My college roommate, Paul Andrews, runs a place here in
mm,
Kentucky. I came back here, and for 30 days I was in there with them. And then I spent another 3 months out or in Houston, Texas, with a guy named John Lucas, who
mm. Yep.
a lot of your kids here, young men, should look up John Lucas and
Yep.
John's story,
Yep.
because it's pretty fantastic. Not
Mhm.
only was he had a addiction problem. He was the number one pick in the draft, but he was also a 2-time NCAA tennis champ while he was at Maryland.
I didn't
Played in
know that.
Wimbledon. Yes, I asked him once. I said, "Man, why'd you stop playing?" Because he played against Borg and McEnroe and Connors and all that. He said 2 things that I found fascinating. He said one was that all those guys, I couldn't beat the really good guys because they had more reps than I did. I only played tennis 3 months out of the year. They played year round.
Sure.
And he said, so the reps, he said, and I also figured out that I liked saying we lost better than I lost.
Hey, I never heard that
That's right.
before.
No, that's good, right?
That's a classic. Oh man.
Anyway, yeah. So,
Oh man.
yeah.
That's
So I went out. I went out and spent some months with John, and then look, I lived on a couple friends' couches for a couple years.
yeah.
Started slowly getting back into to basketball, and now I do NBA TV, and I'm lucky to do our college stuff here for our guys, and I speak some. But life is weird, and life is really hard. And I remember sitting in rehab my last time, and I'll stop with all this stuff. But I was sitting in rehab, and Rick Pitino, Rick
Yeah.
came to see me, and I love Rick. We go way back,
Mm.
and he came to see me, and he said, "Man, listen, you're going to help a lot of people at some point." And I looked at him, I said, "F you, man. This is not my story." And I'm crying and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Guess what? It's my story. And it took me some time, because look, if I'm a All-American and this and
Yeah.
that, you don't dream about how my thing has gone.
Sure. Sure.
But you're never as bad as your worst moment
Yeah.
unless you don't learn from it and
Mm.
grow. So that's what I've tried to do, and I think that's a valuable lesson for all of us.
What's it like, man, telling that story? I know you've told the
Hmm.
story, you've helped a lot of people, man, and what's it like kind of giving back in that way and kind of sharing yourself and being vulnerable like that?
Yeah, coach. It's hard to say that I was arrested.
Mm.
It's hard to say drug addict and stuff. Part of me, I still want to tear up and cry a little
Mm.
bit, because I know how many people I let down. I know I've got four kids. They're 27, 25, 21, and 19.
Mm.
And for a lot of their lives, I was functional and all that, but
Right.
I wasn't very, very sharp. And so I'm trying to do things differently for me, but also for them. Um, it, the main thing, and I think you said it, the main thing, I think one of the main things with relationships and healthy relationships
Mm.
is being able to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And as young people, you're kind of taught not to, let in coolness slip out and this
Sure.
and that. Well,
Right.
life is messy, and if you can show people that that you are vulnerable and you're human, then I think they have a little bit better chance of maybe hanging on to something that you might say.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, man, I'm so proud of you. I followed you, man,
Hey.
and then next thing you know, I start, I get more and more into Twitter, especially as I was in the NFL coaching, and I get back into college ball, and then it's the recruiting piece, and then it's the
Yeah.
social media piece, and so now I'm on Twitter now, and I look and I see this Rex Chapman, and I'm like, oh, what's going on with Rex? And I see this. So one day I see blocker charge, and I'm like,
Blocker
and I
charge.
see one, I'm like, whoa. That's crazy.
I
And
know,
then
I
I see it the
know.
next day, and the next day, and then I realize this is a thing. Like,
Yeah,
how'd that
it's
come
so
about,
crazy.
man? Like, how?
Coach, it's so silly. I wanted off of social media about a year and a half ago. The political climate, it was toxic. I've got some pretty strong opinions on all of it, and
Yeah,
it wasn't doing me well mentally.
yeah,
So I wanted off, and really and truly, one day I just saw a school of dolphins that on a video that were swimming into shore as a dude was paddleboarding out, and one of the dolphins jumped up, hit him in the chest, and I said, "That's a charge." And to myself, and I just tweeted it out. People thought it was funny, and that's really it. But it's just
wow.
been kind of weird. Now I'll put some feel good stuff, some dog stuff, and yeah, it's just kind of grown and grown. It's all good. The good part about it is it has so many media, coaches, entertainers,
Yeah,
athletes, and stuff that follow it.
yeah,
Over the last couple months, we raised 200 grand, $200,000 for COVID relief,
yeah. Tell us about that,
just from
man.
generous people on Twitter. I
Yeah,
just put out a thing saying I partnered my opioid foundation
mm,
with a longtime nonprofit here in town,
mm,
and then we just raised money from all over the country. People were generous. We given money to New York, New Jersey, a lot of the hot spots for PPE, food banks,
mm.
first responders. So that part of it's all great, man. All great.
I can't tell you how many people that I'm in contact with that say that they look forward to going to your account every single day to
It's
lift their
crazy.
spirits, to feel better. I mean, that's got to make you feel good. I
It
mean, you're
does.
touching hundreds of thousands of people every day.
Yeah, I don't think I think about it too often like that. Because, look, we're all people. We all have good days and bad days. One of the things that my dad told me when I went off to college, he said, "Hey, listen, son, you're gonna hate your coach. You're gonna hate your coaches every now and then. Some days you're not gonna want to see them." He said, "You're not gonna want to pick up that basketball."
Yeah,
He said, "But keep doing the right thing day after day after day. Those days will be few and far between."
sure,
So,
sure.
we're all trying to get through our days. We're all trying to do things, and sometimes we need each other to help pick us up
Yeah.
and get us through our days. So that part about it with the Twitter makes me feel good.
Yeah, you've done a fantastic job with that. You've got some other stuff going on? What you got, Adult Swim, and what else is kind
Yeah.
of branched off of that for you?
Uh, oh wow. Quite a few things, but one, I do a show on Thursday nights
Mm,
tonight live on Adult Swim, the app streaming, whatever your TV streaming services
yeah,
are. It's me and my childhood buddy. We've known each other since kindergarten, grew up together, went high school together, college, all that stuff, and we just sit and talk about. We just talk for 30 minutes
mhm.
while people are running into each other and hurting themselves. That's it. But yeah, that's all, man. And shoot, I can't wait for sports to get back. I
I
know you
know,
can't.
I
I
know.
know. Hey, and look, well, we should talk another time. I'm fascinated by, look, football players, basketball, they're not wind up toys.
Yeah,
You don't just, yeah. And this stuff, you haven't been able to train like you're supposed to be training or would be training if you're all under the. So I'm anxious to see how this is going to play out
yeah,
coming back. I've got my fingers crossed for, very few
yeah,
injuries and
yeah.
all of that stuff, but it's going to be dicey. So and man, I can't wait. You let me know when you want me to come. I'd love to come talk to your team in person.
Yeah, I certainly want to do that, man. I want to have you up. We'll host you. You can talk to the squad, man. They will love that. They all know who you are, bro. I'm sure they do.
Oh, that's
And
crazy. That's crazy.
it'll be awesome, man. You know, I saw you. I think it might have been a week ago. I think I saw you on some type of cable news, and it was about you talked about the George Floyd deal,
Yeah.
and you kind of spoke up. I saw you got kind of emotional, and I saw it. I got kind of emotional. I kind of
Yeah.
felt your passion, man. Kind of what was it inside of you that anytime you speak up, you speak out,
Hmm.
you don't know where it's going to go. You know what I mean? But what
Yeah.
was it that where you say, I feel like I got to say something.
From the time I was little, I grew up kind of in the suburbs, but I also grew up with my friends down in the projects.
Yeah.
And so I had a little bit of a different view of race than maybe a lot of people in the South. And then I played basketball and all that. But from a very young age, I was racially intrigued. I knew what privilege was. I you know I got it. I got to see it. I don't know that I've even told this. I took 5 college visits. I was going to Kentucky or Louisville and maybe Carolina. I wasn't even going to go visit somewhere else, but a friend of mine went to Georgia Tech, and he said, "Will you come for a visit?" And I said, "No." And then he said, "Well, what would it take?" And I said, "Well, they just built the MLK facility in Atlanta.
Mm.
And if your coaches will take me to see it, then I'll come on the visit." So I went, and it was my best visit. They let me hang around there for a couple of hours. It meant so much to me.
Mm.
And I've spoken out subtly over the years
Mm.
about things that I see racially that I just can't tolerate. And when George Floyd was murdered a few weeks ago, Stevie Jackson is one of his boys,
Mm.
and Stevie was my rookie He was a little rookie
Mm-hmm.
in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about family, that's what I talk about,
Yep.
man. That's my family.
Yep.
If I play basketball with you, if I love you like that,
Yep.
you're my family.
Yep.
And I started seeing some BS, in the media, and just I felt a real lack of leadership.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just not I'm not up for biting my tongue too much anymore when it comes to racial inequality, because look, we're all here trying to get by just like everybody
That's
else. And
right.
if we can't understand that some of us have had a different road,
Mm-hmm.
and be honest, an easier road than others, then if we can't recognize that, then we got big problems.
Yeah, well, man, I admire you for that, and I got a lot of respect for you, man, and
Thanks, bro.
I appreciate
I'm
you.
just trying to help. I don't know what I get the luxury for reals. I get the luxury of learning about racism.
Mhm. Yep, yep.
You don't have that luxury, and that's bothered me my whole life. So
Well, all we can do is keep on keeping on and
that's right.
communicate, educate, you know, provide resources, man, and keep working to make it better, and
I'm with you.
day in and day out, and we'll get there, man. Especially with guys like you, and we'll get it done, man. In closing, man, I'm gonna let you get out of here. I just wanted to ask you if there was one word that you could give the world right now. I do a word of the week on Wednesday usually,
Okay.
and if there was one word that you could give the world tonight, what would it be, you think?
It would be humility,
Hmm.
I think, and when I say that, being humble about the things that you don't know.
Yeah.
Um, I can sit here as a white basketball player and think that I know that I'm woke and all. It's not about that.
Hmm.
I can never know what it's like. All I can do is continue to try to learn and be an ally for my friends and my family, black and white, um, who have made me what I am and helped make me what I am. So it's just be humble about the things you don't know and continue to try to learn. Continue to try to learn every day. Learn. I'm glad you do this word. Really, I am. My mom, she was much the same way.
Hmm.
She'd be like, she told me at a young age, find a word you don't know every day at
Hmm.
school.
Yeah.
Go to the library, see
Hmm.
what it is, figure it out. Because language and learning how to do some of this stuff,
Yep.
it's going to help you later on with interviews and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So good on you, coach.
Well, I appreciate you, man, and we'll end on that, man. Thank you so much for coming on, man. Let's stay in touch. You see
Absolutely.
my guy Vince down there in Kentucky. Tell him I said what's up.
I will, but I won't. I'll be like he doesn't really like you like that because I gotta have Vince staying here.
Yeah, right.
All
Yeah, you guys
right,
take
coach.
care. Take care, man.
Thanks.
Thank you. We'll
You
see you,
too.
baby. Take care,
See
man.
you.
My man Rex Chapman, man, that was a good talk, and really appreciate that. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully, we'll see you sometime next week, and have a blessed weekend. Stay safe. Have great vigor. Be humble and stay safe out there. And we'll see you soon. Go green.